From a deaf robber who can't hear an alarm going off, to someone so stupid they left their birth certificate at the scene of the crime, we count 10 of the most dumbest criminals of all time. Number 10. Deaf robber can't hear alarm. In August 1995, Klaus Schmidt tried to rob a bank in Berlin by walking in with a pistol and demanding money. So far, this is pretty standard for a bank heist. However, as the robbery progressed, the bank employees noticed that the criminal was acting rather strangely. At one point, one of them asked the robber if he needed a bag, and he replied, "You're damn right it's a real gun." This made them realize that Schmidt had a noticeable handicap. He was deaf. Taking advantage, one employee set off the alarm. Schmidt remained oblivious, and police quickly took the criminal into custody. Number 9. Free beer catches 19 criminals. In 2011, Derbyshire police used a similar strategy by offering wanted criminals free beer. The men received notices through undercover officers informing them that they'd won a crate of beer each. To collect, they needed to contact the company that ran the promotion. Many were tempted by the prospect. 19 fugitives called the assigned number, setting up a time and place to collect their winnings. Tragically, there was no free beer when they turned up, just police officers ready to take them into custody. Number 8. Robber gives cashier his phone number. In 2008, 18-year-old Ruben Zarate wanted to rob a muffler shop in Chicago. He entered the store armed with a gun and demanded money. But there was a problem. Most of the money was in the safe. Only the manager could open it, and the manager wasn't in. Ruben decided that he would try again later. To save himself some time, he left his cell phone number with the store employees. That way, they could call him when the manager returned. First, however, the employees called Chicago police. Police arrived and instructed the employees to call the robber, and Zarate returned to find officers waiting for him. Number 7. Robber leaves birth certificate and note from mom. A Boston robber snatched a woman's wallet and left behind something that belonged to him, his birth certificate. The man stole a wallet containing $40 in cash and the victim's ID. However, during the struggle, he dropped 2 bags of his own. On the very top of one of them was his birth certificate, identifying him as Zachary Tentoni, a 26-year-old resident of Southington, Connecticut. As if that weren't enough, the bag also contained a letter from the robber's mother addressed to him. Number 6. The Getaway Donkey. One of the most important aspects of a successful robbery is securing a good getaway vehicle. A fast car or maybe a motorcycle would make a good choice. You know what isn't a good choice? A donkey. That didn't stop a gang of thieves from Colombia. Their crime spree started when they abducted Zavi, a 10-year-old donkey, from his owner. This happened 12 hours before the main robbery, so they had plenty of time to look for a car, but they decided to stick to the donkey plan. Number 5. Robbers warn target by phone. On March 23, 2010, Albert Bailey and an unnamed juvenile accomplice decided to rob a bank in Fairfield, Connecticut. To streamline the procedure, Bailey called the bank in advance to let them know that they were coming to rob it. The intention here was to give the bank plenty of time to get the money ready so that the two of them could just walk in, take the cash, and leave. Minutes after the phone call, Bailey sent in his juvenile accomplice along with the note. Meanwhile, a bank employee had the police on the phone and updated them about everything that was happening. Number 4. Carjacker can't stick drive. On a sunny March day in Omaha, Nebraska, Melissa Peters was getting ready to take her son to school. She was heading for her car when she found a gun pointing at her face, courtesy of a 17-year-old boy. He had little interest in the mother or her child, who fled quickly. Instead, he simply entered the vehicle to steal it. There was only one problem. The car had a manual transmission, something with which he was unfamiliar. A neighbor called the police. Number 3. Burglar crashes a home full of police. Try to imagine what would make the worst target. How about a house full of police officers? That's what Darren Kimpting of Abington, Northampton chose. The home he selected had already been burgled earlier that night. The owner had called the police, and officers were on the scene investigating the previous burglar when Kimpton broke in. He tried to make a run for it, but was captured after a brief struggle. Number 2. Robber gives his gun away. This particular robber probably should have aimed a little lower. He entered the bank with a gun in one hand and a bag in the other. He demanded that the cashier give him £700,000 in cash. Next, he planned to hand over his bag so the teller could fill it with money. Instead, he got mixed up a little and gave the gun. A brief pause followed. It took the robber a few seconds to realize his mistake. The teller, too, was understandably confused. Number 1. The worst disguise ever. A good disguise obviously needs to hide your true identity. The disguise chosen by Dennis Hawkins, a 48-year-old Pittsburgh man who decided to rob a bank, failed on both counts. His disguise consisted of a woman's blonde wig, a pair of fake breasts, and clown pants. The problem was that the getup revealed his face, which was captured on CCTV surveillance. You might guess that Mr. Hawkins wanted to fool people into thinking he was a woman. In that case, he probably should have considered getting rid of his mustache and goatee.